Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another video. So today I'm going to be back in Eternity Isle in the dunes and we're going to be doing a desert market build. Now I've been waiting to do a desert market build for such a long time, and the main reason I put it off was because when we only had a 25 item limit in Scrooge's shop, I knew it was going to take me weeks and weeks and weeks of buying at his shop to get all the items I knew I'd need for this build. And now we have the 1,000 limit. It's the perfect time to finally get this huge market done because it is going to take up a lot of space in this area. So let's get started. So I started off with blocking out my pathing around this area. I started off by the steps where I knew my well was going to be going. So I kind of blocked it out, and I did use the craftable stone brick pathway that came with the DLC. I just really like using this in the desert. I've used it pretty much everywhere in the desert that I've decorated so far, purely because I love the fact that through the cracks of the stone you can see the sand still, so you can still tell that this is the desert and that the sand's kind of leaking through, and I just feel like it's the best pathway that doesn't really cover up the natural look of the biome. Once I had mapped in my pathway, I then went in and placed the bigger items that were going to kind of block out this area, which is the big desert stalls. These are obviously craftable in the DLC, and because these are so large, I knew getting these in early was a good idea, just so I could understand the kind of layout I wanted the market to be. I didn't really have a strict idea of what I wanted to do, but I actually ended up kind of sticking with the idea I went with originally, which worked out great. But I wanted it so that we could kind of utilize as many stalls as possible, because I wanted to do each stall as kind of a different theme, as if it's selling something different. So I knew I was going to need quite a lot of stalls in here. So once I had those blocked in, I started just placing some of the bigger items around, just so I could get an idea of where everything was going. Once I placed in the stalls and kind of got everything where I wanted it to, I started filling up these market stalls. Obviously, as I said before, I wanted each one to be kind of a different theme, and I did chop and change where things were. As the video goes on, you'll see me go back and forth and change where things are, just because some places it just didn't feel like it fit. Plus also with these tents, a lot of the taller items don't fit inside the tent. It hits the hitbox and it's just too tall for it. So I had to kind of manage where I wanted things to go based on the things that I knew would have to kind of sit outside the tent slightly without it blocking pathways and things like that. it comes to these market stalls, there are so many different options of what you could choose. By no means you have to do the same ideas as I did or feel like you have to kind of stick to a certain rule. There were so many objects and items I could have personally chosen from, both from Scrooge's and craftable items, that could make these stalls really unique, and you could come up with some amazing concept for these. So if anyone has any certain concepts and designs that they really love the idea of, let me know in the comments, because I would love to hear those, because I'm more than happy to add some desert market stalls further on from this if people have some great ideas. These are just the ones that I came up with, but by no means stick to them. Do as you please, use your imagination, and I'm very interested to see what different ideas people come up with. As well as the market stalls, I did place some tents around the area. Obviously these are again craftable with the DLC, and there's I think 4 varieties you can choose from in different colours. And I did place these in kind of hidden areas behind the actual market. I just wanted it to have the impression as though the people who are running the markets kind of live out here or are kind of tending to the markets all the time, so they have somewhere to go and eat and sleep and all of that. It really reminded me of Aladdin, where you have obviously all these kind of houses and homes behind where the market is, and you can tell it's the people who work there, live there. So that was kind of the vibe I was trying to go for with these, and I kind of make them into little mini campsites later on in the video. As well as the desert market stalls from the DLC, I did also use some of the craftable stalls from the base game. They're obviously a lot smaller and you can only fit a couple of items on each, but I did dot these around in some of the extra little gaps and spaces I had, just to make it have a little bit more character and be able to fit in some of the kind of items and stall designs that I couldn't really utilise in a big market stall. So I do go into this later and place some little items in each stall just to give them each their own little bit of character. Now, a lot of the items in this build, just so you guys are aware, majority of them are craftable when it comes to the bigger items like the sort of camp tents and everything like that. That is all craftable, and majority of the other stuff that I've utilised in the stalls are from Scrooge's shop. There are a couple of premium items in there, but nothing that would look out of sorts if you didn't have them. They're not detrimental to the build, they're not really that important, let's be honest, but majority are craftable. So if that's something that you are hoping to do and have things that are craftable, then this will definitely work. And when it comes to the stuff inside the stalls, anything that you see that you don't personally have from Scrooge's shop, you can chop and change these how you want for whatever you have in stock in your store. It will still look great. Now, I did go around and dot in some melted candles all around the campsite. Obviously I love to use melted candles in my builds, which you probably know by now, they're everywhere. but I did dot these around in some of the kind of core areas of the build, just so that when you're walking through this market you have that constant like glow of light. I did use some craftable lampposts as well in the main areas, just to kind of indicate where the entrances and exits are, but I did add melted candles pretty much everywhere, just to kind of make it a nice trail of light, which you'll see later on when I do a walkthrough during sunset. Now I started going in with the trees, and I wanted to do a nice mix of kind of desert trees as well as occasional palm trees. In the build I still wanted it to have that very dried out desert look, but the addition of the palm trees just helps to bring a little bit more colour and a bit more character to it. And I did use a lot of cacti and other foliage in here, but I mainly stuck to the desert ones rather than some of the brighter green ones. Now when I was blocking in the trees, I knew some of these back areas were going to be used as these little mini campsites. So as you can see, I'm placing in a blue tent now, which I do kind of lead a little rock path up to and make it an actual little feature. I think it's nice to have these kind of hidden areas. They really fit well, especially in Eternity Isle, where we do have these hidden areas that were given to us in the map design anyway. So to add my own little twist on that and have some little hidden campsite areas, I feel like just utilize this really big open space behind all of the market, and kind of that being surrounded by a few different trees and bushes and things like that just made it look really natural. Now something I do always make sure to do in my builds is between any kind of like shrubbery and trees and things like that, I do make sure to leave enough space for natural spawns to happen. Obviously in the desert this is a lot easier to do because it wasn't kind of covered in foliage and I wasn't going for this foresty look. It had a lot of gaps and things like that, but obviously we just need to be aware when building, if you do want things to naturally spawn, it's going to struggle without having all this space to spawn in. But in here there was perfect space for everything to just spawn in between all of the foliage, and I can just go in and harvest these up when I need them. As well as that, I do feel like some of these spawns do bring character to the area. For example, in Eternity Isle, the big kind of rock statues that come up in the desert, I feel like bring a lot more character to the area, so I kind of tend to leave these unless I need the resources. Just as how in the forest, I do love when the little logs kind of spawn up, and if I'm not in major need of any wood, I don't I don't dig those up. I leave them if they're in spots where it really fits the atmosphere of what's going on. For the final part of the build, I went in and added things to these little market stalls that I was talking about earlier. I just decided to do a couple of them with some gems, some with some potions, and some with some time bending cores, just things that looked a bit more mystical and like they wouldn't be in this huge big market. They were kind of more elusive items that are kind of hard to get your hands on. And I also placed around a bunch of crafted rope just because it fit the atmosphere and filled in these little gaps before I finished off the flower stall. Finally, I finished decorating this well area. Obviously, I hadn't really done any of the foliage or anything around here. And as you can see, the pathway from the well area stops where it is because this is going to be a completely different build that will be on my channel at some point. I have already done the build and I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. I'm not going to say what it is, but it was something that I found really cool to do. It was something that I kind of just came up with the idea of and was like, I'm doing it. It's good. Like, I'm just going to go for it. So if you're excited to see that, let me know down below, but that should be up on the channel very, very soon. So here is the finished build. I have made it sunset because it's the perfect time to walk through the desert in my opinion. So when you first go in, you can see these small little stalls here that just have some resources on them, just sort of things you would kind of pick and grab in this biome. And then when you head in, you obviously have the fountains leading in and the little campsite on the right, just kind of tucked away and hidden as though someone would be living there. And then there's the one on the left hand side as well. There's a little bit more built up, but also just sits perfectly behind this market. As we head in, if we go on the smaller part of the market, we have a stall on the right that has some fireworks and some kind of celebratory items, so that was a really cute one to do. And opposite that, we have a fruit and veg stall using the stalls from Scrooge's. This is just a simple one, but I just thought it was perfect to have in here. On the left we have a little sort of eating area, little banquet area, and on the right we have this one with this really beautiful crafted bathtub and a kind of potion shelf. I imagine this to be a place where you'd buy soaps or kind of ointments or things like that for a bath or for anything like that. I thought that was kind of a cute concept behind it. As we head in here, I have the craftable agrabah model. We get the time bending pieces next to a tea station where you have the little tea sets, some more stalls with the potions and the time bending cores, and then in front of that we have possibly my favourite stall, which is like my kind of antique store stall where it just has a huge bunch of eclectic items that I just think look so cute. As we head out of there, we just have this cute little seating area next to the flower stall where we have a bunch of different flowers from the biome, as well as some like potted flowers from Scrooge's, some craftable ones, just a nice little variety, as well as a sand sculpture. And as we head around, we have our little fabric stall with a sewing machine and a mirror and just some cute little items there. And opposite that, Mike is showing off lovely the music stall and book stall, which it's probably my second favourite. I really love this one, and it's obviously where you just come and get some books or some musical instruments. Next up we have the gem stalls, and as we head through we just have this hidden little tent here with just some kind of craftable items around, like a cart and some tool racks. And heading back out of there, opposite we have obviously Gaston and Goofy's stalls and a little gem stall just in between those to kind of break it up. And then opposite that we have our activity stall, so we have some surfboards and Gaston's archery set we get from his friendship line. And as we come around, we obviously have these beautiful cobra statues which are craftable. These look perfect at this entranceway. I just think they look very regal and fit so beautifully in this area. And opposite that we obviously have our well, which is surrounded by some fountains and some shrubbery. This doesn't block my entrance in and out when I use this well at all because of the angle that I come in at, so that works perfect. And on either side we have a couple of benches, and then we head off to the end of the path where we will soon be having our next section of this huge desert area. So that is the final market. I've obviously included a bunch of shots because it's such a big area. I had to kind of try my best to get as many shots as I could of different angles of it, just so you could see each part of it. It's very difficult to do on the camera mode because the camera mode is hard to work with, let's say that. But I do love how this turned out. I love how big it is, but at the same time when you're in there it feels really enclosed and like you're in a really busy market. I feel like if there was a bunch of villagers walking around here it would feel so cool because it would remind me of Aladdin with the markets. I just think the layout worked really well. I may chop and change what is in these markets at some point, especially if we get any more items with the DLC when we get the updates or new characters or anything like that. I'll obviously edit and change this, but for now I'm very happy with what I've got so far, and yeah, I will add to this if I need to. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and you like this desert market. I have seen a couple of other people do desert markets before, so big shout out to them. I know I saw Tanny's one a couple of months ago maybe, or maybe it was when the DLC came out, I can't remember now, and I absolutely loved hers. So if you haven't seen hers, go check it out. I'll leave it in the description. But I just really wanted to create my own, and I've been waiting, and we finally got a bigger Scrooge item limit, which was the perfect opportunity. As I said, the second part of this build, which is not a market, it's something completely different, is coming soon. So if you're excited to see that, do let me know down below. But make sure you like and subscribe, and thank you so much for all the support on the channel and hitting 300 subscribers, which is crazy. I'm very appreciative, thank you, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good week. Bye.